All right. Well, so this first one I put on here, I don't know if it's really specifically a working group thing, but since I had the audience, I figured I'd just remind everyone that we want to spend some time next week focusing on peer feedback, collecting it and delivering it. So post about it in Slack. Again, just kind of a heads up. Giuseppe, I think you've got the next one.
Yeah, just a very technical one. So I am working on making manifests with more than one app work. And that's a really trivial change because we've got everything in place and we just needed to put in a for loop. But then I wanted to also add an end-to-end test that pushes some sort of moderately realistic manifest and see it working. But like when we push from the CLI, you just push with the manifest and it works. I just don't know how it works when it comes to like API calls. So maybe someone here knows and can save me some time of research. Like, because if I just apply the manifest, of course, the apps are going to be created, but I haven't pushed the sources yet. So how does it work? Do I apply the manifest and then do I need to push the sources afterwards and then do the builds of the droplets afterwards?
Yeah.
But like, what happens to like because the whole point is that I want to put processes in the manifest and I want those to come into effect. So, and if I just apply the manifest without pushing any sources, I don't see processes. Is that going to change as soon as I push the sources? How does that work?
All right, so let me caveat this with my knowledge here is probably at least 4 years old at this point, but the way it works, so fine. you have path keys in your manifest, right, that point to the source code for each of the apps.
Okay.
You need those. So the flow the CLI does is the very first thing is it will apply the bulk manifest, and then if we're talking about CF for VMs, then Cloud Controller will create any resource that's defined in that manifest up front. So it will go and either create or update every app and then create processes like skeleton processes just based on the type and command you have and any routes or anything for the apps. And then after that, the CLI essentially just does a loop over the apps and will go in and like push the code at the path for each app and then do its normal flow. And then it's like basically just a loop that does the single app flow for each app that's in the manifest. Is that helpful?
So create, build, and droplet, and then assign droplets, this, and then start.
Yeah, and it does it sequentially. So it's not like trying to do it all at the same time.
But like, why don't I see any processes? So in Korifi, if I apply a manifest with one, I was expecting to find the web process because of the normalization, which creates the web process by default if there are no processes. But if I hit /processes, I don't see anything. Is it because we filter out processes that are not ready or whatever that means? Or I guess I can investigate.
It could just be buggy. I think it should show up.
But if I guess they will not be running, right? But they should still show up.
They should still show up. Like the processes endpoint should show everything it knows about the processes, including whether or not they should be started or stopped. It's possible that there's also like how long are you waiting before hitting the endpoint?
I'm doing it immediately. Oh, maybe, yeah, maybe that's my problem.
Like there could be some lag there and like some eventual consistency stuff.
Right. Okay, thank you. I'll try harder, I guess. It's going to be nice to have a test that actually does this. Because at the moment, I think we do use manifests in some tests here and there, but we don't have like a dedicated manifest end-to-end test.
Yeah, I think this could be also a case for improving that apply manifest job, such that it doesn't return immediately, but it could potentially like wait and see if these things exist or anything before it says the manifest is applied. So like, like on Cloud Controller, it like will like we won't return until the database is done writing all that stuff. Because like I think this is more than just like an end-to-end test writing issue. It could be like a CLI bug essentially. If it's trying to do the multi-manifest and it returns too soon.
No, I'm not using the CLI at all. I'm using it via the plain API, which is why I guess I was
Yeah, I
asking the
guess.
question.
Yeah, I know. I guess I'm saying, like, even if we like wait or something in the end-to-end tests, like it might be a real problem for the CLI attempting to do the same thing.
I see. Okay. Now that I think about it, we've never tried because we've never supported it. So, but it should be the same for one single app, right?
Yeah, probably.
And it works. So I don't know.
It could
Yeah,
also just be that there's enough lag time in the CLI between calls and stuff that it doesn't hit it.
Okay.
So I guess we're also going to test this with the CLI, right? To see if we hit some sort of problem that Tim described. I wonder how we should test it, but I guess just try it. And
Yeah, I can do a manual test until we decide what to do with that option we've discussed many times of having like a CLI based suite. Like I think
we can also look at the code, I guess, to see if it's susceptible to that kind of problem.
in the end, the API has a contract, right? So like the end-to-end test should be testing that contract. And if the contract is you need to apply the manifest first and then this and then that, then I think that it's a valid end-to-end, even if we don't test it with the CLI in the end.
Yeah, that's true.
The CLI happens to be a client, but like there is that there is a
I'm just
we implement the API, right? So
yeah, from the perspective of the API is fine. I'm just wondering about using it from the CLI later, and if this is going to be buggy or some sort.
yeah,
because the story is
give it a try.
to support it, right? Not just to write the test. I think is that it's trivial to implement, but maybe there's something hidden there. But yeah, I guess just give it a try, and if there's a problem, we can probably look at the code, see if it's suffering from the same. Maybe it's trying too soon. Maybe it's we'll have to look at the details, I guess, if needed.
Mm-hmm.
On to the next item.
Yeah, so I was thinking while we were discussing that this thing is very convenient to test on a like traditional CF just to see how it behaves and compare. So a bit of history, when we were working on Garden, the team needed a whole bunch of environments, right? And we had an environment which we called Spicy, which was the one with all the like experimental features enabled. And like when it came to naming that environment, someone had the idea of naming it after a Spice Girl. So it was called Mel B. And we played with that environment even with Irini or even with Korifi. Like when we wanted to try on real CF, we just try on Mel B, and it was there conveniently. And like even if it's another team now owning it, it still worked for a while. And then the other day we realized, no, it's been torn down because the working group has moved the resources or whatever, rotated the credentials. So we were like, oh, we actually do need a traditional CF around. It's just for convenience when you want to try something. So very naturally, the successor of Mel B is Mel C, which conveniently is also an existing Spice Girl. So we have deployed Mel C in the Korifi working group GCP project. So if you're ever curious of like how does traditional CF behave, you can check Mel C. I think everything Like there are scripts to actually target it. I think in our, I think we put it in our secrets, in the Korifi secrets repository maybe. So you should be able to just target it and play with it, which is what we do. Like even for acceptance, or when I'm writing stories, when I'm wondering, oh, how does traditional CF behave in this particular instance? That's what I do. I play with the existing, with the traditional CF, and it's done with the Bosch Lite. Not even the new Bosch Lite. I think the old deprecated Bosch Lite, just because we already had the scripts lying around. So it's basically a VM with an entire CF in it, deployed with containers instead of VMs. So it's basically a VM that has the Bosch director using a garden based how is it called, like backend. So when Bosch creates VMs, actually the backend calls garden and creates containers instead, which means you can have a full blown like CF all on one VM. So it's cheap, and we can keep it running so that when you need it, you can just you don't have to wait for it to come up or anything. You just it's there.
Cool. Next, Ron.
Hey, so I just wanted to circle back to that topic that we were speaking about last week, vis-a-vis doing that blog post. Thank you, Tim, for being the lone star in our lineup and adding those comments on time. But if other folks want to pitch in as well and have your thoughts heard and have something to share with the community in terms of the great engineering effort that you're a part of, I really invite folks to add something to the talk. So if you could please take some time today or tomorrow, time box it if you can, and fill in some stuff in the doc about what you have in terms of feedback or thoughts. I would really appreciate it. If you have anything you want to discuss, I'm obviously available on Slack. You can ping me and we can chat about it before filling it into the doc. So if that would help anyone, then I'm available for that as well. So just a reminder for folks to contribute in a non-technical way, I guess, to some of the Korifi stuff. That's it from me.
Great. That exhausts the list. And then we have anything one-off we want to chalk through, or we can call it a wrap? Alrighty. Thank you all. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Everyone,
Thanks,
bye-bye.
everyone. Bye.